My name is Mandy and I'm a fibreholic. I was born in Suffolk, nearly 65. I was always knitting and crocheting as a child. I went off to university in Bristol in '79 and carried on the knitting passion then, and for a bit of pocket money I used to knit for friends, used to do silly jumpers and things like that. And then once I became a doctor, time was much shorter, but I always found time to do a bit. And I was notorious on call for having my knitting in the coffee room, waiting for things to happen. And then a few years before I retired, I learnt to spin and joined the Cheshire Guild of Spinners, Weavers and Dyers, and then fell down the rabbit hole of weaving, and I've been utterly addicted ever since. I've been a puppy raiser for guide dogs for about 4 years now. We lost our own pet dogs, but we thought we might travel, and somebody suggested that raising guide dog puppies would give us the flexibility to travel but still have a lovely dog about the place. But the first dog we got was a bit out of control when he arrived at 9 months old, so we adopted him, and so we got a pet dog after all. Knitting, my grandmother taught me when I was about 8, so 57 years. She always had busy hands and she was always knitting or crocheting, and she taught my mother, but I think my grandmother was the better knitter actually. But it was lovely to learn with her because she used to look after us sometimes, and it was just what the two of us did together. Weaving I started about 10 years ago. I joined a guild and learned through that. It's a totally different learning journey. The first day I ever did weaving, it was a class for a more advanced technique that I'd been tricked into going to. And the loom was all set up, and it was just explained to me what to do, and I did it, and I thought, this is amazing. I learnt mainly from the books and internet, and I got a few pointers from people, and then I met a professional weaver who had a group in Lostock, and I wouldn't call her a teacher for me, she was more of a mentor, and we used to do residential weekends up in the Ribble Valley once or twice a year, and that was really educational, and I've done a couple of other residential courses as well. My favourite thing is deflected double weave, which is where you have 2 layers or more of cloth that are intermittently above and below, and you can make really cool patterns with that. I'm not very good at designing it, but I'm quite good at copying other people's work. Well, I have been called the Purple Princess in the past. Ooh. I had this, I've still got this really cool gay friend, and he loves ballet. And he and 2 of his gay friends and I went to London for the weekend, and they were all in black and I had a purple coat, so we were 3 black queens and the Purple Princess. I've always been very pro-LGBT plus anyway, because where I worked I was surrounded by gay people, and I've worked with a couple of trans people in the past. And then about 5 years ago my daughter came out as lesbian. And my friend Jane, who's also a knitter and a guide dog puppy raiser, her daughter is also a lesbian. Jane is the treasurer of the local church, and when we got a new vicar, he made it very clear that he was not supportive of blessing gay marriages, same-sex blessings of any sort, and he didn't want them to happen in his church. I was annoyed by that, even though I'm an atheist. I don't like my kids facing any discrimination, and that very clearly was discrimination to me. And then we were asked to have an exhibition in the church for my knit group. So the first thing that sprang to mind was to knit a very large pride flag, and I called it Pride Not Prejudice. We also yarn bombed Chudley with lots of little flags. I think because I've always worked hard, relaxation is vital. And I went through a bit of a Buddhist phase about a decade ago and was meditating a lot. And then I realised that my craft was my meditation, really. So not only did you not get sore hips from sitting in an uncomfortable position, you actually got something out of it at the end. So I find each stitch, you're actually in the moment when you're creating that stitch. And for me, I find it very calming. And if I'm feeling a bit anxious, the best thing to do is to pick up some knitting, simple knitting, not complicated when you're not in the right frame of mind When I'm happy, I can knit anything, but if I'm feeling a bit anxious, lace or patterned work is not a good thing to turn to. I think we lose touch with how things are made. Most people don't realise what's gone into the clothes that they wear. And I think if they understood a bit more about preparation of the fibre, manufacturing the cloth, sewing it all together to make what you want to wear, and its environmental implications, I think the throwaway fashion would die. But most people don't, or choose not to know about it. But I actually think it's really important to know what you're doing every time you buy a cheap shirt. I think it's a very important part of primary education, but it always seems to get lost in the secondary phase. I mean, in the Faroe Islands and the Aran Islands, they taught everybody to knit at school. And it was so much part of the culture and the heritage, but that's all gone now with the national curriculum. But I think it's a really good way to relax. I mean, children are now taught mindfulness. Well, you know, give them a hammer and nails if they want that, or yarn and needles, and they can get the same mindfulness, but learn a useful skill.